So I'm going to try something. Konnichiwa. Lorena des. Doso yoroshiku. That's about the extent of my Japanese for now. Could I ask a big favor of all of you? Could you stand up and come closer together? Would that be possible, please? Could I say? Yes? So it's not so empty here. Yeah, don't be shy, please. Could you come sit over here? Excellent, thank you so much. So hi everyone, my name is Lorena. I am the founder of Sideral, a design and innovation consultancy that's based in Montreal, Canada, where we specialize in helping organizations like yours thrive at the intersection of communication, design, and innovation. And we do this through human-centered design and creativity. And I am here today to talk to you about fueling collaboration through diversity and inclusion in the innovation process. No. I'm sorry. There. It's just technical problems. So tell me, have you had the feeling of being lost in translation ever? By show of hands. Yeah? Especially in the last few days. I guess I'm not the only one, right? So you see, in the context of imminent globalization, we've all had a lost in translation moment. Maybe due to the official language of communication or domain of the people that we must work with to find creative and innovative solutions. And this situation presents challenges to collaborate together and ensure a successful outcome. So, as a Spanish-speaking designer that has lived in 5 countries, 15 cities, 2 continents, and that now lives in French, works in English, with German engineers, I have had my share of those moments, which have allowed me to interact with different cultures and understand the challenges of being a minority, the importance of representation, the cultural nuances, and the code switching that is required when you need to communicate in another language that is not your own. This is why I am able to share with you 5 aspects today. Jesus, wait. I can't even blame it on the software, huh? It's the human. Okay. This is why I'm able to share with you 5 aspects that can fuel collaboration in a context of diversity and inclusion. And I will do this through sharing with you the story of how Altosar dared to do things differently last year to celebrate their 20th anniversary. But before we dive in, I'm going to tell you another short story that I don't know if you've heard of before. This is the story of the elephant and the 6 blind men. Having never met an elephant before, each touches a different part and describes a completely different creature. Only by combining their perspectives do they grasp the true nature of the elephant. And this parable illustrates the power of collaboration and diversity. Because you see, ignoring diverse perspectives risks misunderstanding and missed opportunities. So with that in mind, I'm here to share the case study for the co-creation workshops that we designed and facilitated for the redesign of Altosar's website in collaboration with PlusWork a German-based web agency. And I would like to tell you that while this presentation is not a comprehensive overview of inclusive mindsets, I share them as an approach to start incorporating them into your practice. So first things first, pop quiz, okay? Who here can explain to me, in simple terms, the definition of autosar? Nah, just kidding. But no, not really. Honestly, when I first started working in this project, I didn't really understand what autosar did or was. And the appointed person from autosar, who shall remain anonymous, confided in me that it took them 1 year, over 1 year of working at autosar to be able to explain it in simple terms to their own mother. So that sort of gives us an idea of the complexity it entails as an organization, and moreover, the complexity of the project at hand. So let's quickly look at the numbers. autosar, as you know, has over 350 partners worldwide in 4 regions, in 5+ languages at work, and we worked with more than 20 stakeholders. We were 3 companies, and we were working in 1 official language. From those 350+ partners, Jesus, I'm sorry. From those 350+ partners, 80% are not native English speakers, and we will come back to that point later on. So I want to share something with you that I deeply believe. We cannot, hold on, okay, 1 second, I'll be back. I'm sorry, it's just a technical difficulty. There. Should work now? Okay. So I'd like to share something that I deeply believe. We cannot design the right solution for something that we do not fully understand. So the lack of understanding cripples our capacity for innovation. With this in mind, we set out to uncover and better understand autosar and its community before designing their new website. Which brings us to factor number 1, getting everyone on board from the start. We needed to align the understanding of autosar, and at first autosar had asked us to conduct individual interviews with the stakeholders. But instead, we came up with an alternative with the same allocated time and budget that fueled collaboration and provided richer data that could be then turned into insights for design. This was a series of co-created online workshops conducted in English. This is a quick and colorful overview. It's still changing too fast. Okay. This is a quick and colorful overview of the project timeline, which was really quick, as you can see. So we were all in the same boat. And for context, 98% of the participants were not native English speakers. And having a second language for all can be a good thing, and I'm going to tell you why. During the virtual meetings, it became the norm to have to take a moment to find the right word. It was also a chance to have fun and break the ice and make a joke about it instead of feeling self-conscious. It allowed us to normalize the fact of making mistakes, like I'm doing right now on stage, without fearing judgment from others. It became a space of shared humility and humanity. Whenever there was a misunderstanding, we could easily blame it on being lost in translation and clarify the situation without any significant consequence. Therefore, a second language for all can then be viewed as an equalizer rather than a barrier. In my opinion, having an accent when speaking another language only means that you speak more than one language. And that, my friends, is an asset in today's world. Because there is a correlation between the extent of your vocabulary and the number of languages that you speak and your view of the world. So the more, the merrier. To foster inclusivity, we have to make space for everyone to shape the culture, not just participate in it. We need to be intentional. Most participants came from an engineering background, but there were also others that did not possess that degree of technical knowledge of the subject, and we needed to level up the field. So to delve into the complexity of the world of software engineering for intelligent mobility, in which you are used to being, we decided to bring them into our turf, the world of design and creativity. And this was to be able to control the collaboration and communication dynamics, the generation of ideas, and to establish the decision-making process for it to be more efficient. So I was telling you that we brought them into our turf, and this was translated into the design of playful and inclusive co-creative workshops conducted in English. We asked them to come into our sandbox for the duration of the project. So we were asking them to come out of their comfort zone, yes, but into a safe space. And to break with the previous experience bias, we designed an internal campaign to advertise and promote the workshops and invite the stakeholders to participate. The subtext here being, if you do not take part in the process, you could not have a say in the result. Because ownership of the results helps in both the approval and implementation process. And this, by the way, is called participatory design in my field. So we intentionally created something that would shape them and shock them with creativity and humor to break the preconceived notions of the workshops as they knew it. And we sent this flyer after the first workshop, so the testimonials that you're reading there are real. And I can happily report that word got around quickly, and that we achieved our quota without any problem. Next one, please. So, a playful safe space, how do you create that? The one before, please. It starts with intentional diversity, and here we're talking about diversity of gender, of ethnicity, geographical expertise, age, hierarchy. And you have to analyze the characteristics of the participants, their cultural background, gender, age, expertise, etc., and make sure that the groups and teams are mixed, balanced, and complementary. The second thing is to eliminate hierarchies. And this is to provide the ability to express yourself on common and equal ground. Authenticity calls for courage, because there is a degree of vulnerability required to be able to share your ideas in a group, which is precisely what is needed in a collaborative process. So again, being brave enough to be authentic. And we would, of course, model it in every interaction that we have. It is interesting to notice that creativity thrives in a relaxed and playful context, rather than a rigorous and stressful one. So it is important to factor in the notion of play, because play is our common language. And when it comes to humor, humor is very powerful, and laughter is something that can bind us all together. And if you don't believe me, I challenge you the next time that you're laughing, try to feel a negative emotion at the same time. It is just not possible. The next one, please. So with this in mind, we chose a platform that's called Butter, with its bright colors and stickers and sound effects. And it was very user-friendly, and it went along with what we wanted to convey. Next one, please. As for the structure, we divided our workshops into categories. The first one were really aiming for collaboration, and everybody was on the same level. And the second type was meant for decision makers. So there were only people in decision-making roles, so the top management. And even though several decision makers did participate in the first kind of workshops, we made sure that they had a summary of the data and the results when entering the second type of workshops. And as I mentioned before, eliminating hierarchies is important for everyone to feel free to express themselves and contribute without fear. And intentional diversity is key because we are looking to create meaningful conversations, not echo chambers. So a bit of friction is sought after to create the spark for us to reach the insights, but too much friction can burn down the bridges of collaboration. So it was key to correctly combine these factors. And the results were more efficient voting by decision makers, and the decisions were not being perceived as imposed, but rather the result from collaboration. So this greatly facilitated the approval process during the project milestones. Next one, please. So you remember I told you that AutoSAR is in 4 different regions, right? And different time zones. Next one. We were full of good intentions, and we were willing to go the extra mile to make this project succeed. But what we did not take into consideration was that having different time zones meant sometimes having atypical workshop schedules, like for example between 2 and 6 a.m. in Montreal, so that Asia and Europe could participate at the same time. But luckily, a good dose of caffeine and humor were there to the rescue, because honestly, facilitating in the middle of the night is not an easy thing. Which brings us to the third factor: clear, multidisciplinary communication. So I don't know about you, but every time someone asks me what I do for a living, and that I answer that I am a designer, it is somehow never clear. So now imagine engineers, project managers, designers, and developers, each with their own jargon, and speaking in a second language. It could be quite chaotic. Because understanding each other turns out to be half the task. You see, providing information does not equal effective communication. And if you confuse, you lose. So you need to simplify the vocabulary so that a 10-year-old can understand. Because the understanding of the information or message is what really matters. This is why during the collaboration process, it is crucial to validate what we understood with the counterpart. So along with Antonio, the guy that was in the first picture, who happens to be my brother and my associate in this project, we would take a moment to align what we wanted to communicate before each meeting. And then after each meeting, we would take a moment to share what we had understood, each of us. And then we would write both AutoSAR and PlusWork, the summary of what we had understood to validate it. And this created a written communication trail that we could refer to in case there was any misunderstandings. than finding the right answer to the wrong question. So this is why framing the problem is key. So participants anonymously wrote what didn't work with the old website. And then they voted to prioritize these responses. So on the technical side, I can tell you that there were a lot of post-its that needed to be added because people had a lot to say about what didn't work. And the fact that it was anonymous was really encouraging for people to be able to express themselves. In the same sense, we needed to set the course towards success. So we asked them, not what does a successful website look like, but rather what does success look like for AutoSAR. Because we wanted to go beyond the web redesign. We wanted to be able to align our goals. And we were certain that a website is merely a means to achieve these goals. Which brings us to point number 4. Technological inclusivity. So when using technology to connect people in a collaboration process, we need to consider the gap of comfort, knowledge, and experience with these tools among the participants. This is an important aspect to consider when establishing the teams for the breakout rooms and group dynamics. I mentioned this because all of the workshops were done online. So some of the questions that we asked ourselves were, would a baby boomer be better with 1 or 2 Gen Zs in the same breakout room, in case they had any technical difficulties? Are there any women in the groups? And if there are, do they have the space to truly be able to express themselves and be heard? Or do I, as a facilitator, have to step in to create that space? And also, will participants from East Asia, who tend to be less likely to volunteer opinions, be better together, or should we mix them with other regions? So which option will allow for better contributions? These are only a few examples of the variables that need to be considered. And we sent out a detailed brief, a 1-page brief, that was incredibly simple. And it explained the technological requirements, and all you needed to do was click on the link that was there at the time that was indicated in the suggested browser. When designing our workshops, simplicity was key for conveying complex information effectively, underlining the importance of real-time problem solving and adept facilitation. So we had a heavy backend, and it meant dealing with technical hurdles such as managing multiple tools and platforms, while time constraints demanded quick data extractions from very, very busy participants. So in short, this meant from the technical point of view, you had to take care of the breakout rooms, to write on the chat, to move people to the right slide, to manage the timer, to move post-its, to add music, and to deal with slow connections. And from the facilitation part, we needed to motivate participation, to keep the pace, and to visit breakout rooms to be able to help. But for the front-end experience, we provided a simple explanation of the platforms and a quick warm-up that consisted of being able to write your name on a post-it, select a color, and just move a circle. That's it, that's all. So it was a very, very different experience for the participants than for us who were creating the workshops. And despite all the challenges of the subject matter and the tasks within tight time constraints, participants found the experience very enjoyable. Many thanked us for introducing them to a different way of team collaboration, characterized by a playful and friendly approach. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that it all went down as smooth as butter. Pun intended, because the platform's called butter. But there were sound issues, there were camera issues, there was a need for a VPN, you name it. It was really hard. There were people who would log in with a computer for the screen and the video, and others who would log in with their cell phone for the sound. But all in all, we were able to get it all done successfully in the established timelines. So this brings us to the fifth factor, documentation and accessibility to results. Because what good is all of this if the results are not accessible, right? So we documented everything thoroughly so that the information would be clear and would remain accessible even after the project was completed. And this served as a valuable resource for future projects, as I will show you in just a second. So both AutoSAR and PlusWork participated in workshops, and they both received the following documents that are listed here. And these 40-page documents were available on the AutoSAR SVN, and Confluence for PlusWork, and on the cloud for anyone who needed to have access to this information. So there were no excuses. So in a nutshell, in the next slide, the project goal of encasing the user experience and the user interface to facilitate partnership acquisition and streamline access to information translated to the following results, following aspects. So it was in regards to communication, it has a life of its own, enhance UX, UI, the theme that the whole group of stakeholders came up with, which is shaping the future of intelligent mobility together. What does AutoSAR do? It is aiming to shape the future of intelligent mobility together. It is about community, right? It facilitated partner acquisition. So on the AutoSAR side, we got the feedback that it was much easier. People didn't have to answer as many questions because it was way more clear in the website. And in the visual design aspect, the information architecture, and we curated and made them a library of images where there were people and roads, because from the data that we got from the workshops, there were no people. You know, AutoSAR is made from people and contributors, but you didn't see any of them anywhere. So we created a library for that. So on our side, wait, no, I'm skipping the design proposal. So the next one, please. So this is an overview of the design proposal, and you can see where is what that came out from the workshops. I will not go into detail because of time constraints. But there is a slogan that is visible, there are clear calls to action, there are pictures of people, and the partnership options are more colorful and easier to understand. And the next slide, please. And I can tell you that on our side, as designers, a greater understanding of the organization allowed us not only to redesign the website, but also to create the 20th anniversary logo, to update the current logo, to create the image of the 14th AOC in San Diego, that some of you might have attended, and to create the brochure with all of your contributions. I think there were more than 33 specialized articles in that publication. So what was created is far from what had been done before, and it is closer to the vision and mission of AutoSAR. And the next one, please. We're almost done. So I ask you, is there a correlation here? Because in San Diego there were 155 participants, and here the event was completely sold out. Go to the next one. So here's a recap for those of you who just want to take a picture of the 5 aspects to introduce to your practice so that you can feel collaboration more easily in the context of diversity. And I'd like to share with you our takeaways in the next slide. So we cannot design what we cannot fully understand. Diversity enhances the data set that paints the whole picture of what needs to be designed. Working in a second language for all can be used as an equalizer that enables a safe space And humor and play allow creativity to manifest and generate ideas more easily than in a rigid framework. This is the team on Altusar's side that we worked with. And I would like to share with you that we really enjoyed the process. We had fun. And this did not keep us from doing our jobs in a successful and professional way. So in conclusion, it is not true that just putting together different people will make them be able to collaborate successfully. We need to be intentional if we want to generate innovative results. So thank you very much for listening to me today. And if you want to reach out, I'll be here.